2 different races, 2 different winners, and a whole lot of drama. I was thinking about talking about Formula E today, but given that the Miami Grand Prix got brought forward, and given that there are a lot of storylines that have come out of it, I think it's only fair that we discuss Formula 1 here. I think we start off with the man who was seemingly the man of the moment 12 months ago. He's managed to have 2 impressive feats combined, and do so in consecutive races. He's made his own new record. It's the first person, I think, to have his first 3 Grand Prix wins come from his first 3 pole positions. Andrea Kimi Antonelli now leads the World Drivers' Championship by 20 points. And it's not a Mercedes dominance thing. I think we should get it out there that the Mercedes power unit seems to be the most effective of them. And continues to be even after this. Because if you look at who has been catching up a bit over this break, it's been McLaren. But Antonelli just seems to understand these cars on a better level than other drivers. And I know some people are like, oh, Verstappen seems to have gotten the downshift stuff working better. I know I bought into that hype when we looked at the Bahrain testing. But Antonelli, much like Ollie Behrman, who is still seen as one of the highest performing drivers this season, has a really nice element to him. And you could even put this towards someone like Franco Colapinto. Isa Kajor, who we might talk about in a bit, or even the outright rookies like Arvid Lindblad. Because their experience with Formula 1 is very limited, they could just jump into other cars. Carlo Rivera had this a bit when the WRC went hybrid in 2022. I would say that and his more recent experience driving Rally 2 machinery at a high level meant that he was able to be absolutely dominant in 22 and 23. Outside of him being pretty much a born and bred rally driver, more so than any of the others, including multi-generational rally drivers like Elfyn Evans. But with Antonelli, his rapid rise, him spending 1 season in F1 near the front of the pack with that Mercedes, means that he's adaptable, he knows the drivers, he knows the circuit, and he can just jump into a different car and understand how it works. I reckon if all of a sudden tomorrow, all of these drivers had to drive their team's 2020 Challengers. Now, I know that the W11 was class of the field in 2020. I reckon Antonelli would still be quite clearly out towards the front. Because, yeah, why wouldn't he be? It's not just, we'd stick Lewis Hamilton in the SF1000. George Russell did have a go at W11, but he's been driving so many different cars, he's had so many different opportunities to switch in and out and all around. I think that it makes sense to say that, yeah, it would be a shout that Antonelli would perform well. But I don't know, let me know what you think about that one. I think as well, though, we briefly talk McLarens and Ferraris, because the results don't really paint the full picture. Yes, the McLaren is the second best car around Miami, but it has been generally one of the better McLaren tracks in recent years. I mean, look at both Norris and Piastri over the last couple of years here. Yes, there was an upgrade package that went through, but at the same time, it was acting in ways that the other cars haven't been. Norris was able to be 3 seconds off of Antonelli. I mean, Piastri had a good run in Suzuka last time out. Weird to think that was last time out. But, yeah, at the same time, this is the kind of track where you can see who's understanding the minutiae of the rules better. I would say McLaren have done that. I would say Ferrari are up there as well. It wasn't exactly Hamilton's fault that he racked up, 10, 20 points of damage off of Colapinto. It wasn't exactly his fault that he had the incidents with Verstappen in the sprint. Leclerc had a good run. He made, maybe 1 mistake all day? And, unfortunately, that one cost him several places. But, overall, that Ferrari is still good. It is still a good package. I think what we'll find is Mercedes will be all around up at the front pretty much every weekend. But who challenges them will vary from track to track to track. Which means we need to talk about Red Bull briefly. Max Verstappen just loved getting in incidents this weekend. He had the one with Hamilton. He had various other ones. He span right at the start of the race. And the clashes with the Williams cars, the pit exit drama. He was just pushing. That Red Bull seems to be something that he likes a bit more now. Whether or not he's enjoying it is a different question altogether. But it was interesting to see that Red Bull took the Ferrari rear wing concept and turned it up an extra notch. You could see that the rear wing was noticeably bigger, and the gap that it produced was also noticeably bigger. And I wonder whether that had an impact, given the straights at Miami. But speaking of impact, rotten luck for Isaac Hadjar. It's one of the quirks of the Miami International Autodrome, that uphill chicane. I hate it in sim racing, even if that's in the F1 game, which tends to be a bit more lenient, but especially in iRacing. I understand why it has to be there. Southpaw Races a great video recently, like, oh yeah, it does have to be there because of the geography of the venue, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. But yeah, rotten luck for him. But hey, as French drivers go, a couple of corners later, it got worse. Because aside from the meme that is a 5-second penalty to Esteban Ocon, if you were a Francophone driver, you didn't have a great race. Because Liam Lawson just flipped Pierre Gasly. Gasly was doing nothing at all. And then all of a sudden goes into that hairpin. Lawson locks up. And he ends up being flipped. Is it the first time that we've seen an Enzo car flipped? No. In fact, the last time I think an Enzo car got flipped, and properly flipped, it was by a French driver, wasn't it? It was Romain Grosjean 10 years ago to Nico Hülkenberg, who didn't finish this race and didn't start yesterday's one. But wow, the amount of dramas that we could talk about, the amount of clashes and crashes. I mean, we had a relatively clean sprint in that we didn't have a safety car. And then it all just went mad in the Grand Prix. But let's wrap it up by talking about the other drivers. Colapinto 8th. Even though he seems to have a knack for getting into clashes with British drivers. 2 Grand Prix in a row where that's happened because of the Behrman thing last time. Behrman 11th on this occasion in the Grand Prix. But yeah, Colapinto is starting to come too. I think that he's having the same benefits that the likes of Behrman, the likes of Antonelli are having, and even newcomers like Arvid Lindblad. Like I mentioned earlier, they are young, they're relatively new to the sport, and they could just be adaptable to the different cars. I would even be cautious and put Hadjar in there as well, but I don't know. Elsewhere in the points, double points for Williams in the Grand Prix. That car is capable, and it's good to see it making good on its potential, especially after the rotten luck they had to start off the season. In the sprint, we saw Gasly pick up a point as well. So we know that the Alpine, the Enstone car, is running better than people were potentially thinking when they made the switch to Mercedes powertrains. Aston Martin and Cadillac seemed to have a little bit of potential when we looked at the sprint, even if they were a fair bit down on, say, the Racing Bulls and everything like that. And then in the Grand Prix itself, again, it doesn't tell the entire story. Bottas got a drive-through penalty, that's why he's 2 laps down, and that was for speeding on pit entry. But they were the last 4 cars still running at the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I have a feeling that they are all making the best out of their relative baseline. The question is, why are they there? For Cadillac, it's a new team, even though you've got lots of people who are very experienced in F1 working behind the scenes on it. They were always going to be up against it, given, you know, cost cap era. And they're doing it all their own way. They're not being a Haas, where you get as many Ferrari parts as possible. I think we wrap up by talking about the championship picture. 100 points for Antonelli, 80 points for Russell, 63 Leclerc in third. Norris in 4th on 51, with Hamilton in 5th on 49, and Piastri 6th on 43. Then for the rest of the top 10, Verstappen on 26, Behrman on 17, Gasly on 16, and Lawson on 10. It's interesting, given the start of the season that the likes of Verstappen had, that Hadjar is now the lowest ranked Red Bull athlete in F1. He's 13th in the standings. We have 17 drivers who scored points. The only ones who haven't yet: Hulkenberg, Bottas, Perez, Alonso and Stroll. And that's the order in which they are in the standings as well. As for the teams, Mercedes are on 180, Ferrari 112, McLaren 94. And they are head and shoulders above the rest, because right now Red Bull and Alpine are separated by 9 points, 30 to 21. Then it's a further 3 back to Haas, further 4 back to Racing Bulls. It'll be an interesting picture come the end of the season, we can say that much. Either way, folks, as always, thanks so much for watching and joining. Thank you for continued support on this channel. Till next time, bye for now.